Hey everybody, it's Paul McFarlane again with number 10 of the Chiat Day binder. We're not quite halfway through, so this is going to go at least a month. So spread the word for people who care about Chiat Day, or more importantly, care about ass-kickingly wonderful, great creative work that we need today more than ever before. So I always explain why this is relevant to right now, and this is not stupid, empty sentimentality. So where were we? Yes. Well, we'll talk today about one. I was thinking about doing a double, but we'll just do one because we have the massive Nissan historical teardown analysis coming. Today we're talking about California Cooler. California Cooler. How many of you have ever drank a wine cooler? Well, maybe these beer seltzers will be the same thing. They'll be around for a few years, then fade into oblivion as probably they deserve to be. There were two main brands in the wine coolers. One was California Cooler, and one was Bartles and James. There were others. Seagram's made some, I think, or some of the wine companies got into it. Bartles and James. And Hal Riney and Partners, which also did some great work, had the Frank Bartle and Henry James, of the two old guys talking on their front porch about Bartles and James, making characters about Bartles and James, which people who love that work, they all respect. We're here to talk about Chiat fucking Day. This was handled officially out of their still open San Francisco office. The great Dave Woodside, was there. And the original thing was kind of obvious advertising. It's like, one more reason to hate California. California Cooler. So what was special about California Cooler? It was from out of Stockton, California. Find it on the map. And the original brief was, what's California about California Cooler? And the comic thing, it was easy. Because remember, if you know your basic brand stories, comedy is the realm of things where there's not much to say. In most alcohol, there's not much to say. And so you go into comedy. And that whole thing, one more thing to hate California. And it was that idea, almost, they were being pushed almost like to do by the client and the board of the client to really push almost like a taste test thing. Like if we just get people to try it. All right, how do you get people to try it? A challenge. One more thing to hate about California. And they had these TV and radio where it was like someone at a bar complaining about everything they hate about California. Oh, yeah. Hey, dude, what's up? And all the tofu and then this and that. Oh, I hate California, but I'll have one of those. And they all hate California, but they have to try one of those California coolers. And someone next to him is drinking it. So what are you going to have? I'll have one of those. Implying that you can hate California, but still like California Cooler. And the whole thing, one more reason to hate California. Was it the best idea in the world? A hell of a lot better than most ads for any brand of anything at any time. But was it the ultimate? No. And actually, apparently it didn't do well enough, or the client begged them to try something else. Well, Mike Moser was working up there and doing the great work on the UC Berkeley stuff, which we'll talk about later, and of course Woodside and all. I made a visit up to Chiat Day, San Francisco in 1988, was it? And dropped in on Craig Tanemoto and another, so it was kind of fun to hang out with those people. It was a quiet day. Quiet day, Chiat Day, it rhymes. So what happened was, when Leland Clow, Leland, the way his late mother Betty would call him, Leland. Oh, maybe at some point I should tell you about how I got to know his mother, but that may come at the tail end of the binder. This may be binder plus material. When Lee found out about this, and there was a repitch, he got into brainstorming, and he literally talked about his days in the mid-60s as a surfer, and what was their life like. And thinking about wine coolers, he actually remembered, hopefully accurately, that they used to make this stuff in big tubs on the beach. White wine, throwing fruit in it. It was just their concoction. They didn't call it a cooler, but it was a thing. And he thought, being a surfer and being a lover of Southern California, and it was a San Francisco account, well, let's make it more mid and Southern California culture, surfer movies and all that, and said, hey, you need to really just immerse yourself in this culture. So they watched all the Avalon, Annette Funicello movies, Baron von Zipper, and all the crappy surf bands, and all the surfer culture of the movie and the feel and the sound. They got deeper and deeper into it, and they hit on something which is probably one of the best beverage campaigns in the world ever. And why? Because it captured the culture perfectly. People of a certain age who either had older siblings who lived this life or lived it themselves said, yeah, that's it. So it was almost like outtakes from the beach movies, but without silly plots. It was just more documentary style of life on the beach. People doing silly things, riding a cow on the beach with a surfboard, dogs with Wayfarer sunglasses, and mixing up wine and fruit on the beach while listening to songs like doom 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 doom. Give me some lovin'. I mean, come on. And then of course, okay, that's pure surfer music insanity, drunkenness. Ooh. And really, and they did Louie Louie, I think, too, with one of them too. But the point is, it's like those three iconic tracks, and shoot a documentary to that, essentially. So it has the look of 16 millimeter, almost like an archival film. And I don't know how many days they shot this, but I do know it was, if you've ever been in California in the summer, and depending where you go, it can be freezing cold. Well, they were there, I think, in the near winter, and it was cold. And there's one of the commercials where a guy's carrying the big block of ice. He's got his hands all cold. And he puts on the girl's back and she smacks him, because she's cold hands on your back. So they're being playful and flirty. It's just that perfect beach thing. But when they shot it, Mark Copos, director, because remember he wanted to do that, for sympathy, Lee and I think Mark took the shirts off at least. Say, if you guys are suffering, we'll suffer too, and they shot just kind of like B-roll footage, all kinds of B-roll footage, and you cut to this music. And they had all the different characters, and all the activity. And when they put it all together, it was literally like an outtake from the beach movies, but shot color, 16 millimeter kind of look. And it was just seeing like the action behind the action, the intimacy and the sort of details and nuances of whatever the romanticism and the legendary beach life of the mid-'60s. Why mid-'60s? Because the songs are from the mid-'60s. So you place it there. The fashions, where they're wearing their baggies. If you listen to the Beach Boys music, what they're talking about. And the funny thing is the Beach Boys were not beach bums at all. They just sang about it. They barely even did hot rodding. So, they, like Chuck Berry, they sang mythos musically. But I'm getting off topic here. So back to California Cooler, and they produced, I don't know how many, if they did just 60s or they did all the cuts or not, but they presented it up to Stockton to the board. And of course, they were quite split. A lot of the board really didn't like it. They thought this is ridiculous. You got product, you should be saying this is great. Here are the ingredients, buy it at your local store. But the real client said, no, this is great, produce it. And apparently he had the wherewithal and the power of the board to say yes and do it. And they did it. Now, of course, this campaign had legs, and there was radio where they used, the songs with the voice. And the voice was one Michael Stull. I know because I hired him for a commercial. It was just that deep, years ago on the California beaches, people would mix white wine and fruit. And they made coolers, California Cooler, the real stuff. See, the real stuff, the right stuff, the real stuff. This is the real stuff. That was the simple line of that beautiful campaign. If it needed a slogan at all, was to stamp it as being authentically mid-'60s California culture, California Cooler. See, one more reason to hate California before was very California. Is that people used to talk in parlance about things about California, and they kind of lean into that. But going in deep into the emotion, the mythology of California beach life, it was more powerful, it was inspirational, and sales went boom. we'll have to talk about this if we ever talk about Fruitopia. Technically, I should only be talking about what's in the binder, but that's not going to stop me because Chiat is the best ad agency of all time, and I'll fight anyone who says otherwise. So the radio picked up the theme of the TV with Michael Stahl's wonderful voiceovers and the songs. Now, the real stuff, they also did things where they leaned into the ingredients. And there's one where they do, I need a light on this. Hang on one second. I gotta get some light on what I'm doing here. This is a bad photocopy, so hang on a second. Enjoy my bookcase. Oh, here it is. It's funny. It's like, recently, renowned wine critic Jean Robert had this to say about California Cooler. And you hear, now, renowned wine critic Jean Robert. You all know the renowned wine critic Jean Robert, don't you? He was an art director at Chiat. Remember, when you use a character in something, it's best to use a character of a name of a person you really know. And they just thought he would be a fun name to put in, and they did. And, you know, they did things like... yeah, anyway, they did more with it. So it's just, I'm getting off topic here, I guess, sorry. But it was just a brilliant campaign, and you can find them all on YouTube. Maybe I'll post one here. My favorite is the Give Me Some Lovin' one, just because of the way it works with the music so well, and because it's a great song. And then they did billboards, you know, simple things, you know, Red Alert, the real stuff. And the best one of all, of a billboard, when you see this in the highway, tell me you're not going to notice a headline that says Papa Umau Mau, right? And everyone makes an emotional connection. They see the words and they go, oh, the song. It puts them in the mood of silly, joyous rock pop from the 60s. One of the best billboards of all time. You can get away with nonsense words and everyone knows what it means. California Cooler, the real stuff. Again, when you work on something, I don't care if you're doing a banner ad or you're doing a website or you're doing an Instagram campaign or whatever, what are you selling? Go into the truth of the heart of what it is, and you may find something in pop culture, one more reason to hate California, or you may go into the truth of the emotional, inspirational, kind of transportational journey, the real stuff, and find the heart of something that really touches people. The second takes a lot more work and it's harder to sell, and most people don't have the patience. That's the problem with most advertising. People don't have the patience and a lack of belief in the target audience, because you've been hearing people don't read things, people don't watch things at all, and people want things instantly and fast. Yeah, then why do people on the weekend binge watch TV shows and movies? You make something that good and you put it in the right place and you tell them it's worth watching. No, who knows? Go into the emotional truth of a brand, and you too could have something as perfectly culturally perfect as California Cooler, the right stuff. No, the right stuff. California Cooler, the real stuff. We can cut that, can't we?